The next topic that we'd like to explore will be the regulations establishing standards for accrediting public schools in Virginia. So these are our standards for accreditation. They're available online at the link that you see on the slide as a PDF file. According to the purpose of the standards for accreditation, the purpose of public education in Virginia is to provide children with a quality education, giving them opportunities to meet their fullest potential in life. Our mission is to educate students in the essential academic knowledge and skills in order that they may be equipped for citizenship, work, and a private life that is informed and free. As educators, it is our job to prepare students for the future, their world of work, and the citizens that they will become. When we examine the standards for accreditation, the first part that we'll look at would be the school facilities and safety section, and you see the Virginia Code number here on the screen. The standards for accreditation in Virginia require that schools provide suitable space for library and media services. So our state standards for accreditation require that we have a library facility in our schools. If we look at the standards for accreditation to see what they say about the school instructional program, we would look at Part 4, the code, and library media materials and equipment. Standards for accreditation say that each school shall maintain an organized library media center as the resource center of the school and provide a unified program of media services and activities for students and teachers before, during, and after school. Let's break this down just a bit. Our libraries need to be organized. They need to be the resource centers of the school, and we are responsible for providing a program of services and activities for both our students and our teachers before, during, and after school. Now, what does this mean? My interpretation is that this does not mean that we can be required to work before or after school outside of contract hours without compensation. I like to use this statement to our advantage and say that the standards for accreditation require that we provide these services and activities before school, during school, and after school. So if we have hall duty or lunch duty, cafeteria duty, bus duty, and this takes us away from the library, particularly if the library is closed during this time, then we are not meeting the standards for accreditation. Our job is to provide services and activities for our patrons throughout the school day. This statement continues to say that we should have hard copy or print materials in our libraries, that we should have electronic technological resources, access to the internet, access to databases. We should have materials and equipment which are sufficient to meet research needs, inquiry needs, and the reading requirements of both the instructional program and general student interest. There is no budget large enough that would allow us to develop a collection that would meet all of these needs. Letter B, each school shall provide a variety of materials and equipment to support the instructional program. So that is our job in a school setting. We are there to support the instructional program of the school. Taking a brief look at the standards of quality, we find information regarding staffing for Virginia public schools. And we are very fortunate in Virginia in that every public school is required to have a school librarian, a certified school librarian. Not all states have this requirement. The requirement in Virginia is that in the elementary school, we have a part-time librarian up to 299 students, a full-time librarian at 300 students. In the middle school and the high school, half-time up to 299, full-time at 300, and when we reach 1,000 students, the standards of quality require that we have 2 full-time librarians in that school. Now, 2 additional points that I'd like to make here. Number 1, if you notice, the standards for elementary schools are silent for larger school enrollments. These standards have not been revised for a good many years, and I truly believe that when the standards were written, those who were writing them did not foresee that we would have elementary schools that had 600, 700, 1,000 students. We had local neighborhood schools, and I think the standards writers just did not anticipate that we would ever have elementary schools the size at which some of ours are today. The second point that I'd like to make is in regard to the last sentence. Local school divisions that employ a sufficient number of librarians to meet this staffing requirement may assign librarians to schools within the division according to the area of greatest need. So if the school division employs the number of librarians that they should, based on enrollment at the various schools, they can actually shift these librarians around wherever they are needed. So if you have a school, high school with 1,000 students, and 2 librarians are hired for that position, one of those could actually be moved to an elementary school as long as the school division has the total number of librarians that it should have. So there is flexibility according to the standards of quality for assigning people to schools. I've not seen this done in very many instances, but it is written into the standards of quality. Thinking about clerical or paraprofessional assistants, again, I do not think the writers of the standards foresaw the size enrollment that we currently see in elementary schools, because there is no requirement for clerical personnel in elementary schools in the library. In middle schools, we're required to have 1 full-time and 1 additional full-time for each 600 students beyond 200 students. That's for the school itself. But when we have 750 students in a middle school, we're required to have a full-time clerk in the library. And the same requirement is in place at the high school level. When we reach 750 students, we're required to have a clerk in the library. But again, we have the flexibility to move these clerical personnel around as needed, as long as the total number hired within the school system meets this particular standard.